Welcome everybody, and we're going to start this webinar in a couple of minutes, and I'd like to introduce two of our faculty, John McCallig and Charles Garavan, who's our Programme Director. I see there are a few people coming in now, and I'll hand you over shortly to John once you've all arrived. And of course, I'm Sinead McAleese. I'm Admissions Manager. I look after Africa and the Middle East, but I also look after general inquiries. So if anyone has any inquiries about admissions or that process, please reach out as well. There will be a chat facility here to ask any questions, and the more questions you have, the better. And please feel free to ask any of those at all. So we'll wait a couple of minutes to make sure everyone is on board, and then I'm going to pass you over to Charles, actually, whenever Charles, you're ready to start. Thank you.
I am indeed. So welcome everybody. Charles Garvin is my name. I'm the Interim Programme Director for the Masters Accounting in Smurfit. So I want to give just a quick presentation on the pathway for careers in accounting. From my perspective, the reason why I would recommend doing a master's in accounting, and obviously why I think UCD is the place that you should do it. My colleague John, then, who's the Programme Director for the MSc in Accounting and Financial Management, will try and convince you that, in fact, it's the MSc in Accounting and Financial Management that you should do, but you should definitely do it in UCD. Okay, do you want to flick on the slide there, please, John? So yeah, that's a photo of the two of us. So on to the next one. So why should you pursue the qualification in accountancy? Well, there's a few reasons for that, really. The first one I would say is that in addition to there being long-term career prospects in the accountancy firms, both in the area of audit, but also in the other advisory areas like tax and corporate finance and consulting, a lot of people gain that qualification and use it to leverage themselves into careers in other areas of industry. So a very common pathway for people is to do their accountancy qualification and then move sometimes into client firms and sometimes into firms unrelated to the firm where they trained, typically in the finance area with a view to moving towards the CFO, Chief Financial Officer role. And there is a clear career path that can be traced using the accountancy qualification to achieve that. So there is a pathway for you in pretty much any area of business to work your way up to the C-suite, to director level, and potentially beyond. If you look at who are the CFOs and indeed CEOs of medium and large companies in Ireland, you will find an awful lot of our graduates who have done one or other of our master's programs, and you will find an awful lot of accountants filling those roles. In fact, I think nearly always accountants filling the CFO roles. The other thing that I think is important for people to bear in mind is that these qualifications are internationally recognized. So in addition to the larger firms having presences throughout the globe, which can facilitate movement during or after your training contract to go and work for a period of time in another country, if you choose to go and work in Australia or in the UK or in the US or in the Middle East, these qualifications are recognized. So it's not the case that you have to do a significant amount of retraining and that you're really qualifying into something that's narrow and Ireland specific. And again, we were talking just before we started about people we knew who did the AMAC and the years that they did it and where they ended up. And certainly from my own perspective, a lot of friends of mine did the masters in accounting and used it to travel for at least some of the early part of their career. So I think those are probably the two main reasons that I would highlight for the career. As I said, in addition to there being very rewarding long-term careers within the firms themselves. If you want to move on the slide, please, John. Um, so back one. Okay, so what's my pitch for why you should do the Masters in Accounting? Well, one of the things that the Masters in Accounting gives you is your full CAP 2 exemptions. So if you want to qualify as a chartered accountant through Chartered Accountants Ireland, you have to do three sets of professional exams: CAP 1, CAP 2, and FAE, your final admitting exams. You will need to get your CAP 1 exemptions if you want to do the Masters in Accounting, though realistically the firms want you to have got those exemptions as well. So one of the things that the MAC gives you is that you have full exemption from your CAP 2 exams. What that means is that you have just one set of exams to do in your 3-year training contract with the firm. So if you go directly into a firm, in your first year you'll work and do your CAP 2 exams. In your second year you'll work and do your FAEs. Your final year you'll have no exams and then you'll qualify. If you go the MAC route, your first year you'll do your MAC. Your second year you'll work and have no exams. Your next year you'll work and do your FAE. The final year you'll work and you'll have no exams, and you'll qualify just 6 months later than the cohort that went directly into the firm. But what you will have is a master's degree. And that's not something to be underestimated, because there are people out there that mistakenly view the MAC as just being CAP 2, that it's an either or. But a master's degree is something that's going to stand out on your CV. 5, 7, 10 years from now, if you're applying for a job along with lots of other people who are qualified accountants, the fact that you have a master's degree is going to stand out. And if you get it from UCD, the fact that we are a top 50 business school is going to stand out even more. So it really is a long-term investment in your future. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so that's why you should do an MAC. Why should you do the UCD MAC? Well, first, I would say that we consider our MAC program to be sort of CAP 2 plus plus. So not only do we cover everything that you need for the exemptions, but we do a lot of preparation for FAE style exams. So you come out with a bit of a leg up going towards those exams when you go into the firm. Now, historically, we have a 100% FAE pass rate. I can't guarantee you that you will pass the FAEs if you do the MAC. I can't say for sure that next year there won't be someone who has a bad year. So I guess you can put an asterisk against it, but certainly looking historically, people who do the MAC get the FAE the first time. We also have 100% employment. Again, asterisk that. Is it possible that someone will have difficulty getting a job and ruin our perfect record? Yes. Can we guarantee it? No. But typically, everyone is employed after they finish the MAC. And this is something that I think people don't really realize. But if you don't have a contract, then doing the MAC is going to make you very attractive to an employer the following year. Now, why would that be? Why would they not hire you in your final year in UCD and then hire you the following year? Well, let's say John is, not John McCallig, let's say Joe is in his final year and he applies to one of the big four firms. Well, they're hoping that he'll get the degree that it looks like he's going to get, but that's an unknown. They're hoping that when he comes into the firm and he starts work, that he'll be able to work and get his CAP 2, but that's an unknown. And they're hoping he'll get his FAE. Now let's take Mary. She's got her degree. She's halfway through the MAC. and it's pretty clear that she's going to finish that program. Well, now they're looking at hiring someone who has a degree, is halfway through and going to get their CAP 2, and is on a program where everybody who does this program gets FAE first time. So who would you hire? So if you haven't got the contract that you want, the MAC can be a very useful way of pushing yourself back in front of those employers and getting the job down the line. Every year we have people who come onto our program without training contracts, and every year they finish the program with training contracts. Now, again, maybe it's happened that someone hasn't, or maybe it will happen, but that's our history is that once you are working through the program and you can show, say, grades from Christmas that show you're going to finish this thing and you're doing well, you're very, very attractive to other employers. We have very small class sizes. They typically very interactive. It means it makes for a good educational experience, but it also means that you make lifelong friends from people in your class, many of whom are not going to be from UCD. So that's an extra cohort that you have moving forward in your career. The other thing that we have are a lot of additional modules that are very highly valued by employers. Interestingly, when speaking to the students, they don't seem to have appreciated the value of the modules that they're about to do. I suspect they will once they've taken them. But it is certain that employers very highly value these additional skills, this additional training in sustainability and data analytics and AI. Again, that's something that's on your CV. It's from a very highly rated program, and it's something that other people aren't going to have who go directly into the firm and are then applying for a job along with you in 3, 4, 5, 6 years' time, whatever it might be. One final thing that I'll say before I hand over to John is just as regards taxation. I don't know if we have a slide on this, John. Yeah, the next one. Yeah, back one. That's the one. So if you are going to go and work in tax, then you are crazy to go straight into the firm. You should do the MAC, and the reason for it is very straightforward. And if you're going to work in tax, you have your two outstanding professional exams to do for Chartered Accountants Ireland, your CAP 2 and your FAEs, and you have two sets of professional exams that you have to do for the Irish Tax Institute, Part 2 and Part 3. If you go direct into the firm, year one you do CAP 2, year two you do FAE, year three you do your tax Part 2, then your contract finishes and you have to finish your professional tax exams out of your training contract. Or even worse, you have a year where you're working and you're trying to do two sets of exams, one at the start of the summer and one at the end of the summer. And trust me, that is not easy. If you do the MAC, your first year in the firm, you do Part 2 tax. Your second year in the firm, you do your FAE for chartered accounting. Your third year, you do your Part 3 ITI. Your contract finishes 6 months later, but you've got all of your training supported by the firms while you're under that training contract. And also, if you do our MAC, you get an exemption for one of the four papers for the Irish Tax Institute at Part 2. So if you're going into tax, to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. You should do the MAC, and obviously it should be our MAC. Great. I'll hand over to John. Sorry if I went on too long there.
Hi, I'm John McCallig. I'm the director of the MSc in Accounting and Financial Management, and I'm going to talk about that program now. Well, Charles has told you all about the MAC. The MAC is mainly aimed towards students who are, who already have a contract with the Big Four, but as Charles said, some don't. And are interested in, going forward with the chartered accountants in Ireland. The MSc is a more general program and has exemptions from a number of different institutes. So I'll talk through that now. Okay. Sorry. So, people who take this program afterwards go into accounting practice in various capacities in accounting practice, in audit, in tax, in consulting. They go finance roles with companies. So this would be a little bit different from the MAC, that some people from our program go directly into employment in a finance team in a company. Um, some of our graduates, go directly into sustainable business and reporting type roles, which are becoming more common, and more people are interested in that. And also analytics and AI combined with accountancy. Some of our graduates do that. So, what are the exemptions for the MSc? Well, you get full SEMA exemptions up to strategic level. So, this is similar to what Charles talked about for chartered accountants. You essentially get to the top level of SEMA examinations. For ACCA, down in this corner here, you get again exemptions up to the top level of ACCA, so that's a very good deal as well. And for chartered accountants, you only get, unfortunately, the Cap 1 exemptions from chartered accountants. So this is less than the MAC program would get. Our program starts at a slightly lower level than the MAC would. The MAC would, assumes that you have these Cap 1 exemptions in advance. Again, as Charles has said, an advantage of doing this program over, directly registering with some of these accounting bodies is that you get a master's degree from a university with top accreditations. And a master's degree makes a big difference in the job market, particularly, if you're going into a finance team or something like that. They're particularly interested in people with master's qualifications. These are the modules. The structure of the program is that we have 4 modules per trimester. In the autumn trimester, we have these 4 modules and a boot camp. And then in the spring trimester, we have these 4 modules. All of those modules are core, so they're all required. In the summer trimester, we have this list of modules, which if anybody is still here from the MAC, some of these modules are available to the MAC students as well. So some of them are just for the MSc students. And these 4 here: artificial intelligence, machine learning and accounting, financial data technology, sustainability reporting and analysis, and managing performance, are available to both the MSc students and the MAC students. This gives a certain amount of flexibility to the program. Once you've done all the core modules, you can decide where you're specializing. Is it accounting? Is it finance? Do you want add-ons in terms of AI and sustainability? So it gives good flexibility to students who take this program. The structure is similar to what Charles described for the MAC. You would do your undergraduate here, or wherever you're doing your undergraduate. You would do the MSc in the Smurfit School in 26, 27. In 27, 28, you would go out and work. This is assuming that you take the ACCA route. You'd go out and get a job. And at the same time, you would take the final exams of ACCA. Um, and sorry, that should be year one of work experience. And then 28, 29, you'd have to do another year of work experience. In 29, 30, you'd have to do a third year of work experience. Now, if you have worked in accounting before, even if that's international or whatever, then you can get credit for that with the ACCA. That doesn't work with Chartered Accountants Ireland, but it does work with ACCA. So you may not have to do 3 years of work experience after the program. SEMA is similar. You would be able to, in fact, you can do the finals of SEMA the November after the program finishes and be finished with all your exams at that point and be a passed finalist. Again, there are requirements to do 3 years of work experience. With Chartered Accountants Ireland, it is a longer process. After you finish our program, you have to do CAP 2 and then the FAE, and you'll probably have another year as well in contract with a chartered accountants. And I won't go over what Charles said. Our master's programs have a lot of alumni that are CEOs, CFOs, Big Four partners, work down in the IFSC, the Irish Financial Services Centre, analysts at top, finance firms and things like that. So we've the school in general has a huge alumni population, and we in particular have a lot of alumni in the accounting and finance industries. So thank you very much for listening to our presentation. We're delighted that you were able to join us here today. And we will now, together with Sinead, take whatever questions have come up. And I see one here about an internship. Unfortunately, we do not have an internship on the MSc in accounting and financial management. I guess we have a pretty tight program to achieve all those exemptions, so we just don't have time for internships. And in fact, we discourage students from taking internships during the summer trimester because they have a busy time completing the program. Okay. So anyone want to put up any other questions? I'll just say about the MSc in Accounting and Financial Management, the entry requirements are that you have a business degree with some accounting or finance subjects in that, and you achieve the equivalent of a 2-1 degree level in that. The requirements for the MAC are different, and we can talk through them if anyone is interested in that. They're all obviously on the websites as well. Charles, you're muted. Sorry.
Am I unmuted now?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I think you need a 3.3 GPA, but you will also need the CAP 1 exams. So to either have done modules at undergraduate that get you exemptions from CAP 1, or to do the CAP 1 during the summer in advance of taking the MAC. Though if you're going the chartered accounting route, that's basically the same for direct entry. The firms are going to want you to have got your CAP 1 either exemptions or have done them. We do get people on the program that have not got all their exemptions, and they do their additional CAP 1 exams during the summer before they start the program. So that is something that happens and is possible. It's doable. Though obviously it's better if you don't need to and you've already chosen the undergrad modules that give you the exemptions.
I see there's another question here. Do we start applying for graduate programs as soon as we start class in autumn? I assume this is the MSc. And yes, the firms' milk rounds are in kind of October time. So the class do start applying for them. You have to be realistic about this. It's very competitive to get into the big four. And some of our students do get in on the MSc, some do not, and they have to look for other things like joining companies directly in the finance team, or jobs in the International Financial Services Centre, or jobs sometimes with smaller accountancy firms. We did have, in conjunction with the ACCA, a careers kind of networking event recently, where a number of accountancy firms came in and met members of our MSc Accounting and Financial Management class. And on the same theme, I see there's another question. What's the employment outcome of the MSc program for 2025, 2026 looking like? Well, it's always hard to judge at this stage because a lot of students get their positions essentially during the summer because they're only in a position to start working in September. So it is hard to judge at this time. I would say, to be realistic, it's a harder market than it has been for, for a while. And students will have to, work hard and have good academic outcomes to be able to succeed in the employment market as much as they want anyway, to get exactly what they want. So any more questions? Um, I'm not familiar with the Goin app. I don't know the answer to that question.
I'm not either.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go on on things like boards.ie and stuff, you may find information about our programs. Um,
Sorry,
okay.
statistically, just to mention that if the Masters of Accountancy, they'd be stats from last year, would be 87% employment levels, and the MSc in Accounting and Financial Management, 94% in the past, in the first 6 months from the time they graduate. That just gives you a rough
Oh, great.
statistics
Okay. Thank
from
you. Thank you,
the
Sinead. Yeah.
previous year. You know, obviously year on year it changes, but they're the most up-to-date stats we have.
How much, how many students go into accounting? I presume again this is for the MSc because pretty much the MAC it's 100% go into accounting. I think for the MSc everyone goes into a job that's either accounting or accounting related, like parts of finance, fund accounting down in the IFSC, or things that are pretty closely related to accounting. So this program really is for people who are intending to join uh, the accounting industry or related industries.
Yeah, I would say on the MAC, we would have between half and maybe two-thirds of the class might be going into the taxation stream within the large firms. So most of the class are either going into tax or audit. Those are the training contracts that they've been given. But yes, it's all in accountancy firms with a view to getting the accountancy, Chartered Accountants Ireland qualification.
And I would think that probably in the MSc, the most popular route is through ACCA, with probably chartered accountants coming second, and then SEMA coming third in terms of students, which qualification they're going to pursue afterwards. Okay, well, if that's all the questions, I think we can. Of course, you're welcome to email myself or Charles
Absolutely.
or Smurfit Admissions, smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie for information on the admissions procedure or any queries on the admissions procedure. Anything more you want to know about the programs, then you can email me, john.mcculloch@ucd.ie or charles.garavan@ucd.ie. Is that right, Charles? Is
It
that
is indeed,
yeah,
yeah.
okay? For kind of any general queries about the programs or how they work.
That's great. We look forward to seeing
Great.
you guys in September.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, everyone. Thank